The following is an encore presentation of CKRZ.
Hello, my name is Farah.
This is Michelle Wright.
Hi, folks. This is Mark C. Maxted.
Bonjour. This is Jody Gaffney.
Hi, this is George Leach.
Hey, this is Derek Miller, and you're listening to CKRZ.
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 100.3 FM.
The voice of the grand. Yeah.
The comments heard on the following presentation are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Sonics Incorporated or CKRZ-FM. Well, thank you so much for making CKRZ a part of your day. In the house with us right now, we have Six Nations Public Works Director Mike Montour and A6N's Josh Speagle, and we're going to be talking about the landfill site. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I have to ask everybody about this when they come in to visit us. How is the new normal treating you?
It's probably just the same as everyone else, I would imagine.
Because we just don't do things the same way.
No.
But I can imagine for you guys, it must be really different because you have to interact with each other on job sites. And oftentimes there are just certain things that you can't do without working alongside a person.
Yeah, so we do our best as far as the social distancing and the different precautions that we need to take. However, you're right. Like even through the whole pandemic, I know our offices all had to stay open because we're an essential service, and a lot of our public works people have been on the roads and then doing their thing with treating the water, making sure it's out there. So kudos to everybody out there who's maintained those services through this crazy time.
Oh, and then thanks to you and your staff as well, Mike. You guys have done a fantastic job during the pandemic, and it was good to have those services available to us that we did.
Yeah, thank you. And again, the credit goes out to those men and women out there who are making the things work on these uncertain times.
So what are we going to talk about today with regards to the landfill site?
So like you had said, good morning, my name is Michael Montour. I'm the Director of Public Works for Six Nations of the Grand River Territory, and I'm here today to provide the community with an update in regards to the landfill site closure and transfer station project. So this project is the final step in a process to address the fact that our landfill site is nearing its max capacity. We started this in 2016, where we did a 20-year waste management study. The outcome of the study was the transfer of our waste out of the community, which was a community-driven decision made based on feedback from meetings combined with direct mail and online surveys. We took that direction and worked with consultants to complete a closure plan and design for a new transfer station. We were able to begin construction of the landfill site closure and transfer station in 2019, I think it was around this time, with ACON Six Nations Joint Venture as our contractor. I'm happy to report that Indigenous Services Canada has provided over $9 million, which is 100% of funding to get us through every step of this project. Originally, this was scheduled to be completed in December 2019, but was delayed, and we now have to finish it. I brought Josh Speagle in today to discuss what will have to happen for us to finish this project for the community. So, Josh, why did we have to stop construction in late 2019?
So, to start off, Mike, the original fill that was free issued and sourced by the consultant and yourselves for the capping of the piles, it just wasn't large enough. So we got into about 3/4 of the old fill area of the landfill of the capping, and we ran out of fill at Brooks Landfill. There was a secondary pile that we were told we could assess and use for the final capping, and we got into a situation of having to complete environmental due diligence, financial analysis, and we decided that with it being so late in the year last year, as of October, that we would start up again in April or May of 2019. With the COVID-19 pandemic that came up, it continually pushed the project out, and we're just getting started now in the last couple weeks for the project.
Yeah, so you mentioned the financial environmental due diligence. So the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council put out a press release last week, and in that press release there's a link that the community can click, and they can view all those samples and those different items that we're mentioning here, and as well as those previous samples that was taken as we completed the trucking of the fill. So what do we need to complete this project?
So there are two main areas of focus at the landfill. There's the old fill area, which is currently closed, and then the new fill area, which is still accepting refuse at this time. The old fill area has been 90% capped with a clay liner, and we are currently finishing the final grading process. Once this area is done, we will move on to completing a 6-inch topsoil layer so that the final seeding can be completed. This topsoil layer and the final seeding is a big part of the project, which creates stabilization for the piles and will allow the rainwater as a surface runoff that will bleed into a ditch that ends up running out to the outlet area that's been designed by the engineer. The new fill area will be accepting refuse until the time that the transfer station is opened. Once the transfer station is open, we will start hauling clay in from Brooks Landfill again to complete the 600 millimeter or 2-foot clay cap. Currently, the project will require an additional 30,000 cubic meters of clay, or 3,000 triaxle loads, and 1,200 cubic meters of topsoil, or 12,000 cubic meters of topsoil, or 1,200 dump truck loads. Both types of material are going to be hauled in via triaxle, traveling on 4th line from Highway 6. All of the trucks will have A6N magnets on them, so it's distinguishable to the local residents, so they know that there are trucks and that they are coming in. All types of material that come in get tested every 500 triaxle loads, or about 5,000 cubic meters. And this sampling is a full environmental analysis of what's in the soil to make sure that everything that is coming in and is going to be utilized for the project is clean and it meets the Table 1 requirements, which is completely clean fill without any contaminants or issues.
What's the timeline to complete the project?
So the project right now, based on the sort of the later start because of the COVID-19, we're looking at the later part of September for this. I think we're scheduled in right now until September 28th. This includes final seeding, cleanup, and then any deficiencies that we need to clean up for the project at the end.
So, in saying that, what are the environmental issues that would be created by not covering the landfill site areas with this soil?
So the landfill was scheduled to be closed. Obviously, you already explained it was because it has reached the maximum capacity. With landfill areas, and if they're not capped properly at the end of their age, you can allow for rain infiltration into the pile. The rain ends up mixing with the refuse that's been dumped there over the last 30, 40 years, depending on how long the landfills have been open for, and it can create a byproduct called leachate. Leachate can mix with the garbage that's in the pile, and then that can leach out into surrounding waterways, and it can carry the suspended matter from the refuse in the landfill into existing waterways that you have around the property. So the reason why they engineer these things to be capped with the clay is that it allows the water to drain off. It gets picked up in an engineered ditch line, and then that water then gets carried out afterwards. So, a big step in closing a landfill is making sure that it is capped properly and that the topsoil and the seeding establishes itself so that you don't deal with runoff.
So I want to finish by apologizing to the community for the short notice. We received approval from the Emergency Control Group and the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council to resume our capital projects just earlier this month, just in regards to everything going on with the pandemic and all the uncertainties. But one of the caveats in doing that was to ensure that the appropriate COVID-19 policies are in place for the safety of the Six Nations community. What specific COVID-19 policies does A6N have in place?
So we've come out with a large list for our guys to complete daily. So the team members will come into our projects and we'll make sure that nobody's showing any symptoms. We have on-site masks, gloves, and hand sanitizer that the guys can use on a daily basis. It has become part of our jar card, which is our pre-safety talk of the day of everything that we're going to be going over to make sure that the guys know which equipment they're supposed to be utilizing, that we're not jumping around between pieces of equipment. If workers are going to be traveling in the same vehicles, masks are required and gloves for them to have on. And at the end of the day, if you're showing any COVID-19 symptoms, then you're just asked not to come into quarantine for the 14 days as requested. So we've taken the steps and procedures in place to make sure that we're keeping our workforce safe within our team, and then to keep the community safe as well by following these procedures.
All right. Thank you, Josh. And just a couple of general notes. I know that our office has received calls because I guess there's rumors out there to say that the landfill site is going to be closed for weeks or something to accommodate this. So that won't be the case. It's going to be a smooth transition. It's just going to be a matter of where you put your garbage. Instead of throwing it in a landfill site, you're going to be throwing it in a bin at the new transfer station. And then just to let everybody know that so hauling is going to start this week. Yep. And it's not going to be done until the end of August. So you can expect to see these trucks on the road between Monday and Friday between the hours hours of 7 and 5, and they'll be taking a strict route from Highway 6 to 4th Line to the landfill site. And again, as Josh had said, that they will be identified with the A6N stickers. And if anyone has any issues, they're more than welcome to contact me at the Public Works Office, 519-445-4242. And also keep an eye on our Six Nations Elected Council social media, Twitter, Facebook. We'll be putting out updates, and different things are available through there, just in regards to even the history of the project. I know we identified and developed a pamphlet specifically on the transfer station and this project alone that's available on the website, www.sixnations.ca.
Excellent.
And during this time, too, I just wanted to notify the local residents that when we do have the trucks hauling the topsoil and the clay into the landfill area, we will have a full traffic control system set up so that when the local residents are coming in to dump their garbage, that we're able to get them through and get the trucks back and forth freely without causing backup or concern. We will be taking empty local residents over the scale on the way out, so that'll get them in and out a little bit quicker as well.
So, is this transfer station something that's going to remain in place permanently? Well, everybody will have to continue to use the transfer site?
Yeah, so the transfer station, all it is people are throwing their garbage into these predetermined bins, and then once that bin gets full, we call a trucker. That trucker takes it to an NU site, which for us is the Walker Environmental Facility out in Thorold. So those things are in place, and those are things that we'll come back with once we're ready to bring that transfer station online. But again, our focus now is just to make sure that we're finishing the landfill closure and transfer station project.
Alrighty, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
And thanks to all of you, our listeners, for joining us today. The comments on the program you've just heard were those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Sonics Incorporated or CKRZ-FM.
CKRZ is the only station that cares, supports, respects, and understands Six Nations and New Credit culture, tradition, and language. Support the station that supports you. Sonics 100.3 FM. Your station, your nation.
The program you've just heard was an encore presentation of CKRZ.